The lifeline, or the chain. Thomas Hale was never one to follow the manual. He believed instinct and experience always outweighed guidance and caution. At 38, single, and once a mountain climbing coach, he now worked as a freelance photographer for adventure magazines. He had crossed the Peruvian jungle, slept on the cliffs of the Dolomites, and swum across frozen lakes in Iceland. His name had once graced the cover of Wilderness Edge with the bold headline, "Fearless by Nature." He had faith, or so he thought. Thomas believed in God, a higher force watching from above. He had whispered thanks after narrowly escaping an avalanche, and once looked skyward and said thank you after a slip that was saved by a safety rope. But he had never asked for guidance. To Thomas, faith was like a lucky charm, good to have, but not something to live by. His next journey took him to northern Canada, to cross the Glan Mountains in winter, a route no one chose to take alone. The day he began, the sky was as clear as glass. A light breeze swept over the brittle, beautiful ice that shimmered like mirrors under the sun. He strapped on his pack, carried his camera, pitched his tent at the mountain's base, and began his journey early the next morning. No gear checks, no support team, no weather forecast. He scoffed at the standard procedure professional teams swore by. Too cumbersome for someone like him, he thought. The first day went smoothly. He moved across deep snow, passed through narrow ridges, and captured breathtaking shots. At noon, he stood at the edge of a high ledge, overlooking the white valley below, and whispered, "Thank you for showing me the world this way." By late afternoon, the thin clouds thickened, dark curtains drifting across the sky. The wind shifted. The cold bit like an unseen hand down his spine. He should have stopped and made camp. But when he looked toward the peak, just a few hundred meters more, he thought, just one more hour. He kept going. The snow deepened. The wind grew fierce. Fog rolled in from the north, so thick he couldn't see his boots. His headlamp flickered through snow like a drowning swimmer's signal. Then, a crack. The ice beneath him gave way. Thomas panicked, tried to leap sideways, but it was too late. He fell. Not far, but far enough. A narrow crevasse caught him. His safety rope, secured to an anchor above, arrested his fall just meters down. He hung in darkness, suspended in the ice. Wind howled through cracks. The cold gnawed at his bones. Snowdust drifted from above. No GPS signal. Nothing but his shivering breath and the haunting whistle of wind. For the first time in years, Thomas truly prayed. God, if you're there, please help me. He expected nothing, but then a voice. Clear, calm, powerful, as if beside his ear. "What do you want me to do?" Thomas gasped. "Please, save me." The voice responded, "Do you believe I can save you?" "Yes, I believe with all my heart." Silence. Then cut the rope. Thomas didn't answer right away. The command, "cut the rope," echoed in his mind like a bell tolling across a frozen valley. His hands trembled. The small knife was strapped to his belt, within reach. Logic screamed, "Impossible. That rope is the only thing between you and the abyss. Cut it and you might die." But the voice lingered, deep, steady, without doubt. Thomas gripped the rope with both hands, his knuckles white. Sweat beaded on his brow despite the sub-zero cold. The wind whipped his jacket like claws, pulling him from his last hold. He argued with himself. If this is God's test, what if I fall? But what if I don't cut it and freeze to death? He closed his eyes. He had never felt such fear, not of death, but of letting go of the only thing he could control. The fear of surrender. Time passed, maybe an hour, maybe 5. For Thomas, it felt like eternity. The voice never came back. No more instructions, only his breath and the bitter wind. He lost feeling in his fingers. Blood stopped flowing. The rope around his waist left purple marks. His shoulders ached. His stomach twisted from hunger. Had he ever truly believed? He thought of his mother. She once told him, "Faith isn't saying I believe. It's stepping into the fog without a map." He remembered church pews, teenage dreams of wild peaks, thinking life only needed grit and guts. Now, he saw faith not as a chart to hold, but a step into the unknown. And still, Thomas didn't cut the rope. He cried silently. In the dark, his tears were the only warm thing left. The next morning's sunlight broke through the white sky. The storm had passed. All was still. A rescue team traced a weak GPS ping to the southern face of Glacion. It had flashed once before going dark. They found a body hanging between 2 ice walls. Thomas, frozen stiff. His hands clenched the rope so tight his fingers had gone numb. his face turned upward, eyes shut, lips slightly parted, as if whispering one last prayer. The most heartbreaking detail? His feet were just 3 feet above the ice, less than one arm's reach. Had he cut the rope, he would have landed on solid ground, cold but survivable. He could have pitched a tent, lit a fire, and waited for help. He believed, but didn't act on that belief. Conclusion: belief is not enough. When the story spread, people debated, I wouldn't have cut it either. What if that voice wasn't real? How could he know what lay below? But one truth remained. Thomas died clinging to what he thought was safety, when salvation waited just beneath his feet. Final reflections. You say you believe, but will you act when faith requires release? Sometimes what we hold tightest isn't saving us, it's what's keeping us from being free. True faith is not an idea, it is motion. You don't need to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. Martin Luther King, Jr.